Welcome, everyone. We are here today at the El Sol podcast. Today, we are talking about obesity. My name is Valentina Sanabria. I am the lead media specialist here at El Sol. And with me, I have two amazing ladies that know a lot about this subject and will be helping us out with very useful tips and information on the subject. With me, I have Nashay Brown, our community health worker.
Hi, everyone. Yes, it's Nashay Brown. I am a community health worker, and I've been working with El Sol since 2018.
And with us, we have a very special guest, Dr. Winter. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Catherin Winter. I'm a resident physician at Loma University in Preventive Medicine. And then my subspecialty is in obesity medicine.
Awesome. So we know we have a very expert on this subject. So we know this conversation is going to be amazing. And yeah, stay tuned for all of this amazing podcast.
All right. Well, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you for having
me. I'm so excited to learn about this subject.
Yes.
Yeah.
We were thinking today in regards to obesity. What exactly is obesity?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, obesity is actually a lot more complex than people think. It's a complex disease. It's chronic. It's usually, a lifetime diagnosis unless you lose weight. Mm-hmm. And it has a lot of impacts on your health in terms of like your endocrine system, like diabetes, or puts strain on your heart or high blood pressure. So there's various consequences of obesity. It's not just about appearances. So there's a lot of health impacts.
Oh, yeah. Okay. How would I know if I'm actually obese or if I'm just a little overweight?
Yeah.
Right. That's a great question, right?
Yeah. So when you go to your doctor's office, they have all manner of, calculations they can do. So oftentimes your doctor will tell you, oh, your BMI is a certain level. Mm-hmm. That stands for body mass index. Okay. So what that is a calculation based on your height and weight, and it comes back with a number. So a BMI of 20 to 25 is normal. Okay. That's like a normal weight. If you're in the 25 to 30 category, you're in the overweight category. Okay. And then 30 and above are different classes of obesity depending on how high that number is above 30. Okay. So 30 to 35, class 1, 35 to 40, class 2, and then 40 and above is class 3 obesity. So so if your doctor comes up to you and says, like, your BMI is such and such number, you'll know whether you're in the normal weight, overweight, or obese category.
Okay. Yeah. Now, does that differentiate from height as well? Like, I could see someone that might be shorter than me or might be taller than me that might have, like, a larger waist size. Mm-hmm. Does that indicate that they may be obese?
So there's also, I guess I'll give one caveat on BMI. Mm-hmm. So if you take Arnold Schwarzenegger, for example, in his, youth and in his strongest, fittest form, he would have fallen into the obese category. So that's because BMI doesn't take into account your muscle mass. Okay. So it's just for the average person with the average amount of muscle. But if you get more into the bodybuilders, there's limitations there where BMI isn't as good of an indication, which is kind of related to what you bring up. Okay. Your waist size or your waist circumference is another way of measuring obesity. Mm-hmm. So measuring around your waist, usually at the navel or the hip line, just make it consistent every time you do it. Cutoff for men is 35 inches and women is 40 inches for your waist circumference. And that gives more of an indication of how much fat you have around your waist. It's not the ultimate test for that. We have another test, but it requires some special equipment. And that looks at your percent body fat. So there are special machines where you stand on a machine and you hold these like electrode plates, and it measures how much fat is in your body, and it will give you a readout. Okay. And that gives some complicated readings that have to be interpreted by the physician that did the test. But that will give you more of an indication, especially if you're an Arnold Schwarzenegger of the world, how much of you is muscle and how much is fat.
Absolutely.
So those can range from like $5 to $40. So it's a reasonable price, but yeah. it does require
That's
some
interesting
equipment.
for me because I was always an athlete, so I know I have some muscle in here somewhere.
Yeah.
So I was just kind of wondering, how could I measure that? Thank you.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about that too, because obviously, these guys are huge, so they're going to have a, body mass that is going to be a lot higher. So, okay, that's interesting to know. Yeah, that's a good question.
But for the average person,
right.
the BMI gives a good indication.
Right.
Rough
because
indication.
we're not going to be all cut like them and have no fat like them.
Right?
Okay, that's interesting. Thank you for that information. I think maybe now we can talk about the consequences of obesity and being obese and what that comes with.
Yeah.
So would you say that, like, sometimes we say, oh, well, that person's lazy or they just don't want to exercise or something.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say to someone who's battling with obesity?
There's so many factors involved in obesity. A lot of people, they pare it down to, I've eaten too many calories and I haven't exercised enough. But really, it's about a lot of different things. There's genetics. There's, cultural influences as well. Like, what did I grow up eating? What am I used to eating? And kind of the ads that are thrown at us all the time, like McDonald's and stuff like that.
Right.
So there's also the environment that really impacts, a person's weight. And there's also just the personal genetic factors, genetic differences between people. One thing I didn't bring up with BMI is that there's different cutoffs for different ethnicities. So, for example, if you're an Asian person, the cutoff for obesity is a little bit lower. And if you're African American, it's a little bit higher. And that's because that cutoff is not just an arbitrary number. It's actually like, what is my risk of developing diabetes from obesity? And that goes up, the higher the weight, but also we have to take into account the ethnicity of the person as well.
Wow, that's interesting to know.
Yeah.
Because, when you have conversations with family members, and they do talk about those billboards, billboards, we see Coca-Cola, we see Pepsi, we see McDonald's. There's not many billboards about health.
Yeah.
And what could prevent you from getting obese.
There's no billboards for apples, are there?
Yeah, there's not.
No.
Yeah.
Doesn't sell.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the holidays are coming up, family will be sitting around the table, and I'm sure there'll be somebody that might approach me as a community health worker with that question about being overweight and how to address it. Yeah. What do you think would be the best approach?
It can be a sensitive subject to bring up with friends and family, but it's an important subject nonetheless. It really does impact your health. So I think that's probably the best way to start a conversation with somebody is be like, I'm concerned about your weight because I'm concerned about the diseases that can come from the weight. So try and focus more on the consequences of carrying too much weight rather than appearances. Okay. That's probably the best way to approach, and just be matter of fact, but obviously very kind about what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Right. And
I need to tell that to the elders.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
sometimes people can have some pointed remarks. Yeah.
I was just gonna ask you, what are the main consequences from obesity? Since you're mentioning that we should talk to them about it, then it would be nice to know which ones they are, and just to make sure that we're giving out the right information to these families that we go out and help with this information.
I would say the biggest one is diabetes. Carrying extra weight increases your resistance to insulin. So the most likely, and now it doesn't happen to everybody, but one of the most likely consequences or earliest consequences is the development of diabetes or high blood sugar. And some other consequences are increased blood pressure called hypertension. And sort of down the road when you've carried the weight for a bit longer, it can increase your risks for heart attacks and strokes. So it really impacts a lot of different areas in your body.
That is a lot to pay attention to.
Yeah.
So in regards to those tests that you would get back, when they highlight that maybe you're pre-diabetic, you're getting there.
Yeah.
What do you think are some helpful ways to decrease weight?
Yeah.
when it comes to like nutrition recommendations.
Nutrition. Oh, perfect. I'm glad you brought this up. So when you're kind of in that, I'm overweight or I have pre-diabetes, I don't have the full diabetes yet, this is really where lifestyle changes can make a big difference. So nutrition and exercise. But we'll touch on nutrition first. You really can lose weight with any diet out there, but the ones that are going to be the most successful are the ones that are a lifestyle. So a diet, for example, a diet's something you do temporarily, right? You're like, I'm going on a diet. It's a change that you make while you're losing the weight. And then once you're done losing the weight, you go off the diet. That's how people normally think about it. But if you think about changing your lifestyle, that's a permanent change. That's something I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I'm not going on a lifestyle. I am adopting a new lifestyle.
I like that.
So the ones that work out the best and seem to have the best weight reduction and disease risk reduction is a whole food plant-based diet.
Okay.
So eating more fruits and vegetables, whole grains, beans, nuts and seeds, that's really gives the best lifestyle change. You don't have to go full vegan.
Right, I was going to ask you that.
Yes.
But minimizing both animal foods and something called processed foods, which, that's a bigger subject, but yeah.
Okay.
So a whole food plant-based diet, if you go to Google and you type that in, you'll find all sorts of information.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's distinct from vegan because of the processed food component.
Okay.
So.
And by processed foods, you mean mostly like what we find at like fast food places or things like
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah, a processed food, you could think of anything you have to pull out of a package or a box
Oh, okay.
is a processed
Okay.
food.
Okay.
I was
So,
thinking
like-
hamburger helper.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Those
crackers,
quick and
chips,
easy things.
Oreos, candy. Yeah. Versus unprocessed food. Yeah.
Darn.
Unprocessed food is, apples and all the
Right.
vegetables. Or instead of eating like the oatmeal that comes out of the package where you just dump in water and you heat it, you're making like the actual whole rolled oats or overnight oats or something like that. You're eating the grain in its most complete form.
Okay.
So,
Right, it hasn't been touched by any other chemicals or any
Yeah.
other things that they're adding to it. It's
chemicals
just
or machines
Right,
that have
right.
turned it into
the
something
natural,
else. Yeah.
self of the
Yeah.
thing you're eating.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, good to know. Sad, but good to know.
I know.
Well, that's why it's distinct from being vegan, because you can technically eat vegan crackers, but they're going to be very high calorie
Okay.
because of how processed they are.
Right.
So,
See, that is the
Yeah.
key. That is the key. So
Yeah.
that brings me to my next question, to reading the nutritional facts on the back of
Yeah.
whatever you're looking to buy.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So
Yeah.
that's important.
It is. So there's something, and this is kind of hopefully I can make this understandable. There's a concept called calorie density.
Okay.
How many calories are in a cracker versus how many calories are in an apple versus the volume of food that I'm eating. So you're getting a lot more calories in a cracker for, that's not going to fill you up as much as the apple is. Say they have the same number of calories, the apple's going to fill you more, but with less calories than a bowl full of crackers,
Certainly.
Yeah, so it's kind of win-win. You
Yeah.
get full and you're eating less calories.
And
Exactly.
I can actually
Yeah.
visualize that. That is a
Yeah.
great example to
Yeah.
use. That's
Oh,
why I
good.
love apples.
Yeah.
I really do. They do fill me up.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good to know.
Yeah. So,
All right. Okay, yeah. So when we talk about this new lifestyle of eating, when we refer to like a whole food, plant-based, is that more so of like incorporating like flaxseed or quinoa or like beans or?
yeah, you're right on the right track. So whole food plant-based, why it's called that really long name is you're trying to eat food in its most whole form.
Okay.
So versus like, it'd be like an apple versus applesauce. It's better to eat the apple than the applesauce. In terms of grains, quinoa, flaxseed, anything that says it's made with the whole grain versus, for example, white bread has had a lot of the grain stripped away, a lot of the whole of the grain stripped away. And so you're not getting the fiber or the minerals and vitamins that come with that.
Okay.
So the closer you eat the plant to how it grew, the better.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can understand that.
Yeah. And then the plant-based is really about minimizing the amount of animal products that you eat. Because, if you think about it, milk is built for growing a baby cow into a very, large animal.
Absolutely.
So it's very calorie dense, high fat.
Right.
And there are some parts of the milk that are more inflammatory to our bodies, and that can promote obesity.
Okay.
So eating fewer animal products that don't have the nice fiber and everything that plants do, and the extra vitamins and minerals.
Well, now that you mentioned that, I personally love drinking milk.
Yeah.
And, I'm the only one in my family that drinks it. So whatever milk we buy, it's only for me because no one else drinks it.
Yeah.
So what's an alternative to cow's milk that's, similar or in taste? Because I know there's almond milk and oat milk.
You can make a milk out of just about anything.
Okay.
So it's really about finding what tastes good to you.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So, when I was a kid, there was really only like soy milk, and I hated soy milk.
Mm-hmm.
I just did not like the flavor of soy milk. My personal favorite is almond milk. I've also tried oat milk and cashew milk. So there's really any of those nut milks. You just have to find the flavor that works for you.
That works best. Okay, I've only tried almond milk.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big fan of it. But that's because I go back and I compare the taste to real milk.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you grow up and they tell you like, oh, milk is good for you, for your bones and for your teeth. So I grew up thinking that even though my parents would never drink milk, I would be the only one that would drink it, and I still do. So well, good to know.
Yeah,
I gotta change something else now. Something else.
Yeah. It's also important to find a fortified milk. So these plant milks don't have necessarily as much calcium or vitamin D.
Right.
So finding a plant milk that says it's been fortified with vitamins and minerals is a good thing to look for on the package.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
And it would say it on there?
Yeah, it'll say, or you'll look on the nutrition facts on the back and you'll see vitamin D or something of that nature.
So that would depict on what brand that you would choose in regards to almond milk.
Yeah.
Okay.
That it contains that. Oh, that's good to know.
That is really good to know.
Yeah.
Sometimes they have more than what you want in the ingredients.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you do have to watch out for whether or not the milk has been sweetened with extra sugars. So watch out for that too, because they do come in various flavors.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. There's chocolate almond milk and stuff like
vanilla.
that.
Yeah. Vanilla's on point.
I have to go get one of those today, so I stopped drinking cow's milk.
Well, now that we're talking about like milk and things like that brings me to my next question in regards to like shakes and milkshakes, and Weight Watchers as well.
Yeah.
This, I've saw my parents, some of my family members use Weight Watchers and things like that. Would you recommend?
Yeah. You can really lose weight with any diet. And when you're thinking about losing weight, it's whatever diet you think you can follow. Okay. The ideal would be a whole food plant-based, but honestly, you can lose weight with Weight Watchers. Okay. But the problem, and Weight Watchers, I think, has a component of portion control as well. And they do a few things that you could potentially sustain for lifelong. Okay. So some of the diets are teaching you a lifestyle. But the problem is they're not teaching you a complete lifestyle change. So, for example, whole food plant-based, you might restrict how many avocados you eat or olives or some of those high-fat foods high-fat plant-based foods while you're trying to lose weight. Then you can transition to a more relaxed whole food plant-based diet when you're done because it's a lifestyle change rather than just a diet. Okay. So diets that teach you how to live on them for life are ideal. Like they're a lifestyle change.
I like that. Because I remember making a change in my lifestyle and it incorporated going to get avocados every day. Yeah. So that might not didn't help me as much.
Yeah.
Right.
So
it's good news. Thank you so much for this information.
And I know you brought up portion control. Can you talk maybe a little bit more about that?
Yeah.
I know a lot of people, people advise you like, oh, maybe eat less of this and more of that, or like how should you go about that?
So there's a couple ways of thinking about portion control. There's like your overall volume of food. Am I decreasing the overall volume of food to get less calories? Or am I decreasing a portion of my food that's maybe less healthy so that I can get fewer calories? So the decreasing the overall portion is really hard to sustain because you're just hungry all the time. Right. And then you're going to crave more food and then be more likely to break your diet when you're hungry all the time. Right. So the whole food plant-based diet, because it has so much fiber and water and fresh fruits and vegetables in it, that keeps you full. You can eat as much as you want on a whole food plant-based diet and stay full and still lose weight. So that's the nice thing about that. You don't have to portion control with that diet.
That sounds pretty promising.
Yeah.
That does sound good.
But the other way to think about it is, one of the things that can make dieting so hard is when you tell yourself, I can never have that food again. Right. Because then all you do is think about that food. Instead, a healthier approach to it would be, I'm going to reduce the amount that I eat this, high fat or high calorie food, and I'm going to make it a special occasion. So, I have it every once in a while instead of every day, and when I do have it, it's a smaller portion. Like I recently had a patient ask me about, Dairy Queen blizzards. That's probably not good, lots of sugar, lots of,
lots of good stuff.
But the way he compromised was he said, okay, when I have a special occasion, I'm going to go to Dairy Queen and I'm going to get the small, or I think they have like a mini-sized blizzard. That way you still, satisfy the sweet tooth, but you have done sort of a risk reduction, So
that's like your cheat meal.
Your cheat
right?
meal, yeah.
They call it your cheat meal or your cheat day, where just one day out of the week you'll eat something like that. But throughout the week you're watching what you eat and you're eating healthier. Okay.
Because when you try and strictly avoid something, that's when people have the most failure. Right. Because then all you can think about is that food. It just makes it so much harder. So.
Yep, it's true. I mean, just right now, I'm thinking like, oh man, no Oreos, no this, no that. So it's thinking
about. And I'm thinking about, like, on my cheat day, don't eat the whole pack of cookies.
Exactly.
But it's true because you satisfy that craving, so then, you're good. You don't have to eat, all of this. Just have some, and then that'll be that. So that's a good tip to use.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Can put that into effect.
All right. So when we talk about portion control, thank you so much for elaborating on that. And I think about, when I'm working with my parents or working with participants in the community, a lot of times they're at work, they have a tight schedule. And we want to be mindful to not eat after a certain time of night. So we get home, we're rushing, we're trying to get the food. And a lot of times as a parent or whatever hat that you're wearing, you're going to rush. You want to eat that food. Can you tell me a little bit more about, like, what is important about mindful eating?
Yeah. So really, when we're kind of in that rush state, like you said, or when we're distracted while we're eating, we tend to eat more. And we tend to not really pay attention to what we're eating. So we eat more, and we usually eat higher calorie things. So kind of one of the things that has been decreasing over the years is the family dinner. Everyone's sitting around the table. Well, at least when I was growing up, everyone was sitting around the TV when they were eating dinner. So the more we slow down and enjoy our meal, especially with other people, the healthier it is for us. The fewer calories we eat, and we enjoy our food more. So another thing you can do with mindful eating is slowing down and really just noticing the texture of your food, the flavor of your food, like really slowing, instead of just shoving it in your mouth, taking a quick bite and then swallowing, savor that food. And really enjoy your meal, and just notice the complexity of flavor that comes up when you slow down. So
that's interesting because you don't think about those things. You think, oh well, if I'm gonna watch TV, like I'm still having you think more of family time, but you don't really think that what you're eating and focusing on what you're eating actually makes a difference.
Yeah.
So that's something new to me. I had no idea about mindful eating or any of that stuff. So that's interesting. I tend to watch, Netflix or something while I'm eating. And unless I'm eating with my family, then, my parents are like, no, phones away, everything away. We're going to. So that's good. That's good. We're not only spending time as a family, but you're also actually eating healthier because you're enjoying and like you said, analyzing more what you're eating and, that's
and the
great.
Talking with your family also slows you down.
Yeah. You're not,
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's good.
Yeah.
More family time then.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Thank you. Okay. Can how about liquids when it comes to weight loss?
Yeah. So one of the things your brain can do when you're dehydrated is trick you into thinking you're hungry.
Oh.
And so you end up eating more food when really you're just thirsty. So one of the ways that you can help your body to eat less for a meal is about 30 minutes before your meal, drink like a medium glass of water.
Okay.
Make sure you're hydrated. Then in about 30 minutes, eat your meal. And that will help take out the part of your hunger that was just you being thirsty.
Okay.
Oh,
so
that's interesting
yeah.
too.
That is
I
interesting.
didn't know about that either.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think about it, if I drink a cup of water, I kind of feel full for a moment.
Right.
So maybe that would take away from me trying to eat everything, and maybe the second plate doesn't come into play.
Exactly. You'll want fewer leftovers, but we don't want to just fill up our stomach with water and then not get any nutrition.
Okay, right.
That's why we wait the 30 minutes.
It's just to help you see if you were really hungry at the moment or if you were just thirsty.
Exactly.
Okay.
So
okay, that's great.
The other thing about water that's important is it takes water to burn fat.
Okay.
So if you're not staying hydrated, you're not going to burn fat as well. And so, staying hydrated, especially while you're losing weight, will help you burn the fat. So,
Yeah, that's interesting because I always often get that question: how much water should I be taking in a day? Or did I drink too less amount of water? 8 cups of water doesn't seem enough.
Well, if it's not enough, you can always drink more. Okay. So, there's some people who require more water than that. So, but, drinking like 4 gallons of water a day would be a lot.
Okay.
That may be too much, know.
Can that lead to any, consequence or something if you're drinking too much water?
If you're drinking too much water, you're oftentimes washing a lot of the electrolytes out of your system. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, no, these topics are all great. Yeah, thank you. I mean, there's a lot that
worries.
we've covered already that I had no idea about.
Yeah.
Personally, I really like the mindful eating part.
Yeah.
I had no idea that focusing on your food was going to be that important.
It is. It really is.
But thank you. Thank you. We appreciate you being here and taking the
absolutely.
time to not only educate us, but also, whoever's watching us out there. And, especially with, a community health worker like Nashe, I know this information is going to go out to a lot of families. And not only, her doing the job to take it to the families, but I'm sure as soon as we exit this room, you're going to let your family know what you learned. Other community health workers, I know I'll do the same. So, the information not only spreads from in this room, but it goes outwards to many other people. So thank you for that. Thank you for the time.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Nashe, for being here as
not
well.
A problem. Thank you. You answered a lot of questions for
good.
me. I'm equipped to go out and continue to spread the good news.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, thank you.
Is there anything else that you would like to add or anything that maybe you think about that maybe we skipped or something? But I think we covered a lot of very valuable information today.
I think we covered a lot. We can always come back and talk about it some more if we want to dive in deeper to a different subject.
That.
So
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll have some topics.
All right.
I know.
Sounds
this
great.
brings up more. Or maybe, if someone's watching this video, they can, you can always leave comments and stuff. So we
send
can always
in questions
gather that
and we
information.
can address them.
Yeah, great. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you again. We appreciate you being here. Thank you, Nashe.
You're welcome.
And thank you, everyone who's out there watching. Make sure you guys stay tuned because we are going to be releasing a lot more videos, a lot more podcasts with a lot more experts about a lot more different topics. So stay tuned and thank you for being here with us. Bye-bye.
Bye.